when it comes to collecting information and collecting data, what we've realized is that there is a gap in the data with respect to Latinos. Where are the Hispanics in the data? And what we found is that for a long time, they have been collecting data in this country that said you either were black or you're white and didn't take account of your ethnicity. The problem with that is that if we don't have data, we can't tell the story, and we don't really know how Hispanics are being impacted here in Florida and across the country. My name is Ángel Sánchez. I'm originally from Miami, Florida, and my parents are from Cuba and Venezuela. I attend the University of Miami School of Law, and a lot of my research involves how disenfranchisement impacts Latinos in Florida and the Latino Data Gap in the criminal justice system, particularly in Florida's prison system. When you go into Florida's prison system, what you often find is that you're labeled what the correctional officer thinks you are. What's the problem with a correctional officer determining? Well, the problem is that you get it 60% of the time wrong. Where does your complexion land you determines potentially what you get categorized, and they don't apply the Hispanic ethnicity. In fact, recent research just showed that the individuals most impacted by the criminal justice system here in Miami is the Black Hispanic individuals. Everything that involved Hispanics was essentially an assumption. Hispanics tend to be predominantly growing up in more impoverished neighborhoods, going to poorer schools, and as such, we assume that Hispanics, therefore, are probably impacted by the criminal justice systems at higher rates than their white counterparts. But we didn't have any data to prove it, and to this day, most states don't collect data on Hispanics. What can we do without putting a greater burden on taxpayers to ensure that we got data collection? And the easy answer is allow people to self-identify. Some agencies, some departments took note of this, and because of the advocacy of organizations like Latino Justice and the Urban Institute, these departments started incorporating in their data collection the ethnicity of Hispanic or Latinx. In Florida, we currently have an amendment known as Amendment 4. It has been a grassroots effort where citizens in Florida have spoken up and said there is a broken system when it comes to what is known as felony disenfranchisement. The data actually shows that a person who votes is 2 times less likely to reoffend than those who are not restored. Personally, I served over 12 years in Florida's prison. I went to prison when I was a teenager at the age of 17. Growing up in Alapata and Little Havana as a kid, unfortunately I grew up around drugs, crime, and violence. My mom would fall victim to drug addictions, and my dad would do the best to raise me on his own. By the time I turned 12 and 13, the environment I was in, the friends I was around, had stronger influences over me than my dad did. And that's when I began to get arrested. I got immersed in gangs, I was in and out of the juvenile justice system, and eventually I was tried as an adult at the age of 16 for multiple gang-related shootings and sent to prison. It was in prison where I grew up, but it was also in prison where I got a GED. It was also in prison where I discovered my passion for the law. And it was in prison where I discovered my sentences to be illegal and got resentenced, allowing me to get out after serving 12 years. Having nowhere else to go, I moved into a homeless shelter away from Miami in Orlando and began attending Valencia Community College from the shelter. Graduating at the top of my class at the University of Central Florida, I then had my first chance to come back to live in Miami because I was accepted into the University of Miami School of Law. My dad used to say that if you worked hard and got an education, you can do great things. But what I've learned along the way is that if I work hard and get an education and use that to help others and to be a voice for others and to impact others, not only will I do great things, I will be great.